Hey guys, I'm Chris.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert.
And we're the Film Flamers.
And we are here to bring you another hot take.
Right, we were able to get into Whistle, early, very early actually, and watch it for you to give you our hot take and recommend it or not.
That's right. There was a very special advanced screening at the Alamo Draft House. Always good to go to the Alamo to see a film. And there were fives of people in there watching Whistle.
Even though it looked like it was completely filled when I bought the tickets.
Now, as a caveat, we down here in Texas have just had quite the winter storm. Mm-hmm. And most people, myself included, tend to not get out and about in my car when such things happen because I just can't navigate. So maybe that was it.
Maybe, I don't know, or they just shut it down so the only press and certain people could go. I don't know, but we were there and we got to see Whistle, which was not the hot take we expected to do this month, but we ended up being able to see this one a week or so before its initial release.
Yeah, a week and a half before it comes out. So
yeah, usually we get just only a couple of days, if that, and this time we got a little bit more. So if you have not heard of Whistle, which I would not blame you, it's one of the many kind of popcorn horror films that have been coming out or going to come out in Feb-Jan timeline. So kind of not expected to do the best based on early year release horror films, but lately there's been exceptions, big exceptions, right? And we're kind of out of that area almost, I want to say. If the next couple of years pan out and we don't get a bunch of stingers in Jan, I'm going to say the curse is broken. But speaking of curses, this film is about a death whistle from either Aztec or Mayan background, I don't know, South American. And when you blow it, death come a-knockin'. And a scary visage comes to kill you and take your soul.
That's right.
And a group of teens are pitted against a whistle and must fight against fate to survive. And most of them don't.
Yeah, that is
spoiler.
That is this movie.
Did I just describe every high school horror movie?
You just described every Final Destination film,
right? And there's a little bit of It Follows in here,
yeah.
And Final Destination for sure. And it's basically just doing those things. So it's definitely an evolution of those, rehashed, not trying to be super original, but they do construct themselves a sandbox to play in and do just enough interesting new things and interesting gory things to make it worthwhile and worth your while.
That's right. This movie has been completed for quite some time as it had its premiere last September at the Fantastic Fest in Austin. The buzz that came out right after that screening was pretty good. People on Letterboxd came and called it very original. They called it sort of hearkening back to the golden age of high school slasher type movies. And even Rotten Tomatoes reviewers are saying good things about it. So we were excited to be able to catch this movie.
Although Letterboxd is being much more critical. I think it's in the 2 range right now.
Yeah. I mean, well, Letterboxd is always going to be more critical.
Yes. Yeah. Certainly for things that are, trying to lean into the popcorn teenage horror rather than the A24 horrors these days, right? Letterboxd is much more A24 horror friendly.
Yes. We are an elitist group over there on the Letterboxd.
That's true. Speaking of elitist, Nick Frost is in this movie.
Wow. Not quite the lead in I was expecting for Nick Frost, but he's the only recognizable actor in this movie.
There are 3, I'll have you know. Michelle Fairley is in this, and she played Mama Stark from the Game of Thrones fame.
That's true. She is in this.
Yes, and she is a matron of one of the early victims, I believe, and owner or original getter of the whistle, maybe?
The snatcher of the whistle.
She seems to know... Please don't say that. She seems to know its origin story. She is exposition harbinger person.
That's right.
Right. Actually, there's no real harbinger in this. She's just exposition person, right? She's I mean, this is so formulaic. There's a little bit of The Ring in here too, obviously. There's this whole thing where they go and rifle through the hospital files, there's just, you expect it to happen. I thought they were going to throw up buttons or something.
Yeah. And
they have to Nancy Drew. They have to like Scooby Doo it, and they even hang a lantern on that in the movie. They even say like, "You guys can continue your Scooby Doo shit. I'm going to go sulk over here."
I think this movie at times can be kind of like self-aware,
Yes.
Yeah. We've talked about, on other movies recently, things like The Monkey and the very latest Final Destination movie.
Right. But those really lean into comedy. This one doesn't. This one does not treat itself like it's as serious as a car accident, but it does not lean into the humor either. The humor is kind of incidental to it, but it also doesn't lean away from it, right? It knows itself and strikes a tone, but without trying to be too comedic or anything else. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, I had no problems with the tone of this film. And in fact, once it got started, I actually kind of enjoyed it,
Yes.
and I can see why these people are going to Letterboxd or Rotten Tomatoes, and they're saying that it has, some bones of the golden age of high school horror.
Because it's built on top of the haunted, cursed graveyard of
all of
those. Right. And so, and trampling on it and tripping on it. And, at first in this movie, I thought, okay, this is super formulaic. It's not doing anything like new or interesting. It's playing like the first episode of like Supernatural, but in high school or something. And then it just starts to play with the toys that it has and be a little bit more original and interesting and out there with its sandbox. And it has fun with it. And so like, if you eventually let yourself like just have fun, then you will enjoy the shit out of this movie, I think, especially because it has some really good and interesting kills. I don't want to talk too much about how it plays with its, toys, without spoiling, but just know that, there are some tropes like, oh, you have to die for death to skip over you. Or there's like some things you can play with fate. Right. But it's like, hey, if you know you're going to die a certain way, maybe you're not going to die in other ways, and you can use that, right? Or maybe this is not necessarily an Aztec ghost or death coming towards you, but something else, and it's different every time, and in new and interesting and unique, fun, gross, shocking ways. And that's what this movie does really, really well.
Yeah, I will say, you're right. There's a lot of formulaic stuff in here. There's a lot of heavy trope use, but the originality that they bring to it is quite original once you get on board with it. And if you just like sort of let go and watch it and let this, specks of originality come out, it can be a really enjoyable movie.
Yes. And also by the end, I was like, I thought about walking out. Like, I didn't even tell you that. I was thinking of walking out like the first 15 minutes. I was like, this is just a waste of my fucking time.
Oh, wow.
But I stayed because I was angry at it. I was just like, this is so formulaic. It's just like an episode of like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like in HD or something. And then it just got better and started playing with itself. Well, let me rephrase that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it just started getting more unique and interesting and playing with its, the things that it, wrote itself into without just being so formulaic. It got out of that formula and then started playing with it. And it made me start thinking about ways that Smile has done that. Smile has gotten out of being a clone, and especially in its sequel, did interesting, really new things, and it wasn't afraid to go to scale with that, right? With those ideas and really run with them. And I feel like this person, this writer director, isn't scared of that either. And I would not hate it if this turned into a new franchise, because I feel like they're teasing a lot of things they could do with this, right? Because it kind of, at the end of the day, had me thinking like, oh, next movie I want it to be this cast of characters and this type of people with these types of backgrounds, to see like how it would affect the story in a sequel, and how could they like heighten it even more and make it even crazier, So it really, if you think about it, at 1,000-foot view of that discussion that we had, it left us wanting more.
And I would agree. I feel like depending on the success of this movie, we could have the start of a new little franchise on our hands. And I feel like there's lots of different directions that they can take sequels or prequels in to make it very, very interesting, just building on the mythology that they've started in this original movie. Now, this is directed by Corin Hardy, who did a movie called The Hollow and The Nun, right? And so this movie, to me, looks great. Like I thought that like the look of this movie was really good.
There's a fall festival moment where there's like a really unrealistic scale to like a Halloween labyrinth or whatever, which I was like, but like every frame was just like smoke and music and lights and then fireworks and everything. And it was super vibey. Like this movie works as kind of a romance because there's a huge LGBTQ aspect to it, which is part of what my annoyance to it because it felt really shoehorned. And then by the end of it, they double down on it. And it's just like, nope, this is what it is. Right. And I really like that about it. It also works as a just a supernatural horror, right? As a teenage horror. So we were saying the love story works for February, right? And then it works in October for the fall festival for Halloween. And then there was something else that it worked at. I forgot.
Yeah, and I can't even remember now that third month that it sort of like fit itself into. But there's a lot of things that's going on in this plot wise that I agree with you at first.
Oh, Pride.
Oh yeah, it was the Pride Month thing.
We lumped Pride and the romance together.
And there is, I didn't realize that there was an LGBT like storyline in this movie, and there is. It seems kind of like just there for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's lesbians. So,
let's be honest.
Yeah. But one of those lesbians is Daphne Keane, and that's the third recognizable face because it kept bothering me. She's our main character, kind of a little emo, like, black ink on black paper type of character. But she's one of the lesbianist. She's one of the vegetarians in this film. And it is played by Daphne Keane, right? And she played X-23. She played Laura or whatever in Logan, the little clone of Wolverine. And then later on in Deadpool Wolverine, where she's a character. And I knew I recognized her. And she looks so much older in Logan, Wolverine and Deadpool. But this, they really present her as like high school. And I don't know, but she was great. And she was great in those. And I knew I recognized her from somewhere. And it's just because she's all grown up.
I was having the same issue after we watched it last night, and I looked it up today. I was just like, where is she from? I have to know. Yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, I've seen these movies. And you're right. I do recognize her from those.
Was she the girl with all the gifts?
But
wrong movie.
I don't know any of these people's names aside from Nick Frost. I'm going to have to start like boning up on like these up and coming actors, I guess, if they're going to be cast in multiple movies. So, but I thought she did a good job. I thought the acting in this was good. Yeah. For a horror movie.
Characters were likable, even the ones that were supposed to be like mean girls or mean boys at the beginning. They all kind of weirdly ended up being the friend group. Yeah. Which is weird. Like that was so weird how that kind of just really quickly transitioned into their friend group. Even though like they were starting off as bullied, like that was almost clumsy in a way, but like made sense in a weird way. Like I don't understand.
They make it feel like this is a really small town, right? Where like everyone seems to know each other, and like the friend groups are kind of like intermingling, and it works for the plot. And then they get to that fall festival, and I was just like, this is a really big fall festival for such a small town. I was like, if the bullies are hanging out with the bullied, then
it's a suburb of New York, so I'm guessing the justification would be that you're going to get, the in-towners going to the out-of-towners, fall festival.
And I mean, like there's what my biggest concern when it first started was like, okay, these are really young kids. This is going to be kind of a riff on a high school horror movie. And I am so far removed from high school culture now. I was like, oh my God, they're going to start referencing things that I don't get, and I'm going to hate it. And that didn't happen. I felt
they're retro lesbians.
That's right.
Because they like the music that came out before you were born.
That's right. They're like listening to music that I listened to when I was in high school, and they're lesbians. And I was like, these kids are okay. Like however I feel about most kids, I like these.
Yeah.
And I think that works for the movie. Like you really care whether or not some of these characters survive. And like Chris said earlier, there are some definitely like original and cool kills in this.
Yeah. So if you really like the monkey for its kills, if you like inventive and interesting or kills and chunky salsa doesn't really bother you, then definitely this movie might be for you.
And I think you have to do that these days because a lot of people are like seasoned horror watchers at this point. Like horror is making a lot of money at the box office and people are going to see it. Mm-hmm. Now, they may not be the connoisseurs that you and I are or some of our listeners are, but they've seen a lot of things, and you have to start to one up as these movies are being made, and I think there's some interesting stuff going on here without giving too many spoilers away. But I feel like the bar for like best kill of 2026 has been set. Yep. And other movies have got to top it. And it was just like some enjoyable shit to look at.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed. So don't let the first like 15, 20 minutes of exposition, high schooly bullshit that it has to get out of the way, like put you off. After that, it'll get a little bit better. What did you ended up rating this?
I gave this 3.5 stars.
Actually. I also gave it 3.5 stars, which is like a little low based on how we've been talking about it, but it was like on the cusp.
Yep.
Right. If I had put like one thing a little higher, it's just like the writing was not great. Like for some of these lines, like I think one thing we really, one of the things that Mama Stark has to say, where they're like, well, how do you get rid of it? She's like, honey, if you didn't want to die, you should never have been born.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. But also that's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so like shit like that. Right. And then like the acting was good, but not great. Like everything was good, but not great. And there's like moments that are amazing in this movie. And then like it's like somehow less than the sum of its parts, but at the same time, like go see it with friends, go see it with other horror aficionados, try and get into a full theater. People are going to be laughing and yelling and screaming and shocked, And so, and they were in our theater, even though it was like 5 of us. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up our hot take on Whistle. So as always, we want to know what you think about this movie when you go see it, when it comes out.
Whistle.
This is the hottest of takes, y'all. You can find us on social media at The Film Flamers, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, on Threads.
You can call us and leave a voicemail at 972-666-7733. Let your voice be heard. Let us know what you thought and what your favorite kill from this was, or, any other movie.
That's right. Well, Chris.
Well, Robert.
I think it's time for me to head off and blow it.
At the rest stop again?
That's right. And have some sweet dreams. It's exactly what it sounds like at the rest stop.
The slide whistle?
That's right. You don't know how I do it. Harmonica style.